the fourth be with you.
May the fourth be with you.
George Lucas did not call me back on using the music for the intro,
Please don't
so
sue.
we have to deal with hand clapping because Evans is still in Ghana. We're not sure when he's coming back, if he's coming back, because he has all the sound effects, which is fine. But yeah, again, that's right. Anyway, guys, welcome back to another episode of Open Shutter. We have the pleasure of welcoming Miss Candy Du Verre, KF, on the show with us, Toronto model, and she's going to be talking about the model industry, her experience, the differences between freelance, agency, and all that good stuff. So it's going to be a really fascinating show if you're interested in learning more about the model industry. And that's the hour, so stay tuned. If you're coming from Kay's side, we do this show every week. Try to get on as many guests as possible, go into like a whole host of photography issues, stories, niches, all that stuff. So if you're interested in coming on and talking about your stuff, feel free to message us on Open Shutter YouTube on Instagram, and we can definitely talk about having you on the show. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Paul, and I usually host the show with Evans and Bryan, but they have ditched me for bigger and better things, so that's okay. I can deal with that. And I host this show, and I also do vlogs about life. So if you're into like life, check out my channel after the show because there's some good stuff on and there's some not good stuff on. So that's just the way it goes. And yeah, that's it. I'll throw it to Kay for a little intro about herself for the viewers.
Well, I'm Kay, or Miss Candy Du Verre, 2 on Instagram. That 2 is important now because I did lose my original account.
Oh no!
And so I'm restarting. I'm regrowing.
Oh. So, was your account hacked?
I'm sorry?
Was your account hacked?
No, I did not fall for the scam. That scam that was going around and they hacked your account. Some weird thing happened. It's still unexplained to this day. May remain a mystery forever.
Instagram, get it together.
Yeah, all gone. So I'm restarting. So yeah, Miss Candy Du Verre 2. I've been modeling for about 10 years, off and on, with some breaks in between. And yeah, as mentioned, I have experience. I started off as an agency model and just went into freelance from there.
Excellent. Yeah, no, for sure. So kind of like a little backstory, because when we had Kate on a few weeks ago, Kate was watching and she said, "Oh, can I come on and talk about like my story," which I think is great. So maybe kind of going back to like the beginning, like how did you get into the modeling industry in the first place? Like, was there some sort of like motivation behind it, or like what was the interest behind it?
Well, I'm a theater kid at heart. Okay. I grew up. My mom put me in a bunch of drama clubs and drama camps, and theater was the way that I initially was going. And so I was in school in university for theater, and through some friends and people there, I got connected to modeling and a couple of agencies. They were a couple of people working in the industry, doing ads, photographers, that sort of thing. Right. So they kind of got me into modeling and that sort of thing. So through that, I got connected to an agency, and it sort of took off from there. And I spent about 4 years with an agency there, and it was great. I was considered even old in the business. I was early 20s, but even so, I was considered to be quite old to be getting into agency modeling and
early 20s.
Some problems there.
Early 20s.
Yeah. By age 25, actually, you're considered too old, like to get your start in any sort of agency modeling. You're pretty much on your way out at that point. And that was pretty much the case for me. But even entering in, I heard a lot of, "Oh, well, you're very old," and that, and there were some problems that came about with booking gigs that way. That I was considered to be quite old in the industry, and another thing had to do with, well, my background is I'm mixed, so it's very much about fitting a box and fitting a type, and
Mm-hmm.
and being mixed. I wasn't identified as white. I wasn't identified as black. A lot of the time, they didn't know what to do with me because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't fit a
Mm-hmm.
particular book and lot. I was basically labeled as the exotic model.
Oh.
So that was the interesting, is because I was mixed race. They just labeled me exotic. But I mean,
So yeah, wow. How did you, I guess, overcome like these obstacles? How did you, like, was there a
um,
certain mindset to it, or you just kind of said, I'm not listening to you guys, I'm just doing my thing, or
well, the thing with agency work is they hook you up with an agent, somebody that gets you jobs,
right?
and you're very much dependent on them to get you those jobs, to find you those jobs. You're
Mm,
allowed to go and seek out work outside of what these agents find you, but it
mm-hmm.
has to be paid work, and the agency gets a certain percentage of it. You are very much discouraged against doing any sort of free trade for photo work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, that's because the agency, they want their
Yeah,
percentage and want to get
of
paid.
course.
So it was very difficult to try and overcome a lot of these obstacles
Yeah,
within the machine that was the agency,
right.
because it wasn't just one person. And when
No.
you booked a gig, it was the photographer, the hair people, like there was a whole team
Mm-hmm.
of people. So, um, but that being said, I had a lot of amazing opportunities in my agency days. I got to, fly to Chicago. I got to be in a hotel ad campaign in Las Vegas. I got to
Nice,
be in like a couple of magazines, like sold in store magazines and
nice, nice.
publications that way. So there was a lot of amazing opportunities, but I kind of describe it as a horribly wonderful experience,
Okay.
because there was a lot of, again, a lot of opportunities, a lot of uh, gigs that were amazing, that allowed for travel, um, but at the same time, um, certain mindsets
Yeah.
and how I was being treated um,
Right.
was a little not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, what are some, I mean, people, I guess people that are, I guess, listening or watching now or later on, and they're aspiring to be models, like, what are some things that they should watch out for if they're looking into, like, working with an agency? Like, are there certain, like, red flags that come out, like, that aren't so obvious that people should maybe pick up on, or?
Um, well, having a firm grasp of reality. People are
Mm,
going to be direct and frank about how you look
mm-hmm.
and your appearance, because, I mean, let's be honest, it's a business that is focused on how you look and how
Yeah.
your appearance can be sold and can sell a product, however it
Mm-hmm.
can work, right? So you have to understand that the business is going to be very harsh, very
Mm-hmm.
harsh on you and your appearance. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to have a firm sense of self
Okay.
and realistic expectations and outlook. No one's going to sugarcoat things for you. Um, I mean, there's this misconception, I think, from America's Next Top Model and all those shows, that the modeling industry is
Yeah.
glamorous and that it's a certain way.
Yeah.
And I mean, to a certain extent, the stereotypes that we've come to know about the industry, there are some truth to that. Um, and so you just have to go in there um, with no sugar coated false ideas of things,
Mm-hmm.
or yourself. You really have to have a strong sense of self,
Yeah,
because
and I guess you have to know like why you're going into the business also. Like, is there like, I mean, I'm just like, do people go in there thinking they're going to become famous like overnight? Do
yes,
people think, yeah, so
again, that you have to have a realistic, um, grounded sense of the business, And again, all those TV shows and things that fed you an idea of what the modeling industry is, that's not really how it is. But also, how I phrase it is you have to know how to play the game. There's a lot of times where you have to suck it up, and you may not like somebody that you're working with. You may not be happy. You may have to be standing in one position. There was a job I did where I basically had to be a human statue and stand in the same position for about 4 hours.
Oh, you couldn't move at all? You couldn't move at all?
Sorry?
You couldn't move at all?
Couldn't move. I was
4 hours. You had to
be a statue, and you
what
pick
were
a
you
pose
doing
and
though?
you
What were
hold
you
it.
doing? What were you doing? Were you holding a product?
Yeah, it was basically we were supposed to be modeling some clothing, and we were in a museum in Chicago, and we were put on pedestals, and we were just human
But
sculptures.
for 4 hours? But for 4 hours.
There was breaks, not 4 hours straight. There was breaks in between, but I mean, entirely, you're basically doing that. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's a full day's work, and so so there's things like that where there's either going to be a harsh crash of reality for you, or you already go in there.
So understanding why you're going into the business, I guess also what you want to get out of the business. Like for you, I guess, what was there a main goal for you to get out of like the agency?
Well, for me, modeling in itself and theater and everything was about having a creative outlet. Like I'm a very artistic person, and I can't paint, I can't sing, I can't dance.
Me too. That's why I'm on YouTube.
So I figured I'm going to use myself and and have that. So for me, I realized that the agency wasn't providing a lot of creativity and a lot of room for me to express myself the way that I wanted to. It was more about, like I said, like filling a box. And again, if you go in there understanding that and being fine with that, that's great. But I wanted to do product, like there were ideas that I had, and there were projects that I wanted to do, and I felt very restricted. Ultimately, I felt just very restricted. And again, that was sort of clashed with all these opportunities I was getting to do and all of these other things. So I spent a lot longer in the agency, sort of being conflicted with the two things. And ultimately I felt like, you know what, I can do this on my own. I've got a lot of ideas and I want to do them. So that's what left, basically.
Do you recommend people that are starting to first work with an agency first and then go freelance? Or do you recommend people going freelance? Or is it just based on the person?
I would say it's based on your personality. And like I said, the understanding, if you're the kind of person that is all right with like, how do I want to phrase this? Like, like I said, fitting the box and fitting a type and selling the product and being that sort of industry model, there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, if you really want to express yourself creatively and just have no restraints, then no. You do need some experience. Like before I went into the agency, you have to have a portfolio of sorts. You have to be able to just, so starting off freelance probably would be a good idea because you build experience. But like I said, the agency is very age restrictive as well. There's a certain time limit. So if you are thinking agency, you do have a certain window of time.
Right. Makes sense. And how does one find agencies? Like, you just basically Google model agency Toronto and then you just find the whole bunch?
There's a lot of research involved because there are certainly some agencies that are questionably legitimate. And yes, there is payment. You have to pay the agency.
Right.
a certain amount of money, but there are also agencies that charge too much money. That's a red flag. Is if it's saying we need $500 for headshots, we need da da da. Like if they're charging all this money out the wazoo, that's a red flag.
Red flag.
But for me, it was word of mouth. So I can't. I would say in this day and age, the best way to do it is to Google, but do your research.
Right. I guess also ask people that have, research people that have gone through that agency and ask them for a reference essentially on
exactly.
Yeah.
Any sort of references and anything to back that up, or if you see a particular agency that, say, a lot of models on Instagram are signed with, then that's definitely worth investigating there.
Okay. So you made the transition from agency to freelance. So now you're freelance. So now what? Like, how do you get work essentially? What's your process?
So I took a bit of a break after the agency days, and then I got onto social media. Model Mayhem was a place that I started off with. Social media is a necessary evil. I know not a lot of people like or know how to navigate those things, but it is your portfolio. It is how you are representing yourself, and how you're networking. So Model Mayhem isn't exactly what it used to be. So my best suggestion would be places like Instagram, things that are focused on photos and that is a community that connects you.
Right. Cool. So do you just look up Toronto photographers and just ask them if you want to work with them, or do you just
Yeah, I have no problem approaching photographers.
Yeah.
I know sometimes there's a bit of a power dynamic when you approach photographers, because I do a blend of paid work or some trade for photos depending on the project, because again, mainly I'm in here for creative expression and as a creative outlet. So if a photographer's work speaks to me, or models or anybody in the creative team, I'll reach out.
Just DM and say, hey, what's up? Okay, here, let's work.
Yeah. Oh, and be like, hey, we gotta work together.
What up? We got a question from Kate. What happens when the photographers that you work with won't showcase you after? Do you notice that happens? Also, hey, Kate.
Yes. Yeah, there has been some photographers I've worked with several times, and they, for whatever reason, do not showcase my work. And it's as if we've never worked together.
Never. It's like this shit never happened.
Sorry?
It's like this shit never happened.
Exactly. So and weird. I mean, that happened to me as well in the agency days, where I would do an entire photo shoot and I was there, but then when it came to publication, I was cropped out.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've shown up to photo shoots, gotten the whole hair and makeup together, and the photographers decided not to shoot me.
Because how pissed were you?
After being completely crushed and crestfallen, you can't.
Did you ask them why?
Take it personally.
Did you ask them why?
No. At that time, I was still getting the sense of myself. I didn't have a lot of confidence, so I probably should have. But it's not the the photographer didn't hire me. When you're doing those kind of shoots, it's either the company or the product or the people that are hiring the whole team. So they would have no idea who the model is until they show up on set, and for whatever reason,
that sucks.
But I mean, the same can be said in the freelance industry and people where I just, I I don't show up on the gallery.
Weird.
Yeah.
Also rude.
Yeah. And I have gotten my nerves. So there has
Yeah.
been times where I've messaged a photographer and been like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Um, so,
It's weird.
yeah. That, I mean, you, regardless of whether or not you're part of it, the agency or doing freelance, you have to have a strong sense of self. You have to be, I wouldn't even necessarily say confident, but there has to be an inner strength in order to call people on certain behaviors and things, and to know yourself and to not always take things so personally. That is something that I definitely learned.
100%.
But
100%.
it's
So
hard
when,
not to, because again, it's an industry that is based off of how you look.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, you always need to stand up for yourself, right? Like you always need to make sure that you're respected, and
that is still an ongoing issue for me, because
what, to be respected,
to stand up for yourself
and
when something's going on, but you can't quite put your finger on it. It's difficult to call somebody out on that, but you know something's up.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate that happens, because it's work. So you need to me, it's like, just act professional. Like, this is work.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't go into an
for sure.
office. You wouldn't go into an office building and doing that. It's the same thing. You're just doing a photo shoot.
And in a lot, like you said, it's in a lot of ways, it's a job. It's a fun, creative job.
And it's work.
But
you need to act professional.
Yeah. Why? I mean, why hire me if you're not going to feature me? That's it.
Yeah, no, it's valuable. It's valuable. So, like, just curious for people like listening, do you have contracts in place when you work with these photographers? Like, do you make sure that everything is signed off or like agreed upon before you start working with people, just to make sure things are on the up and up?
Paid jobs, for sure, there is almost always a contract involved. Whereas with trade, it's sort of a mutual agreed upon creative collaborative process, a little loosey goosey. But with paid, because there's been issues where there's a debate over photographers' rights over their photos and their right to display them wherever and whenever, and there has to be a clear understanding, verbally and in writing, about what the expectations of the shoot is going to be and what is going to happen afterwards. I know there's been a lot of photographers who, if you're doing paid work, you're signing away your rights to the photos. The model is. The model does not have any right to publish the photos without the photographer's consent.
Yeah. I mean, as long as whatever is agreed upon. I mean, because you don't want to be driving down the highway and seeing your photo on a billboard. So we didn't agree to that. Like, what's going on?
Or some website or something like that. Yeah, for sure.
We didn't agree to that. So, I just always find that like, always have contracts, just because it protects everyone involved.
A clear understanding
of what we're doing.
Of what is expected and what will happen afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. And then when Bryan's on, he always talks about communicating with the client on what his vision is and working with the client on what their vision is, and then together they'll have an agreed upon vision, because everyone brings different ideas to the table.
Absolutely.
which is great because that's how you learn and grow and get new ideas for next time. And but as long as, like, in that shoot, whatever's discussed is agreed upon, I think that's important, because you don't want someone walking away from the shoot not happy.
No,
because you're not going to want to work with that person afterwards. You're not going to want to work with that. And also, like, especially in this industry, like, word of mouth gets around that someone isn't so cool. it can destroy your career, right? So
For
that's why I think
sure.
it's super important to make sure that everything is on the up and up. Like people that try to mislead other people, I have no idea why people do that, because like it just takes a couple people on Google to write something bad about you, and then you're done. So
For sure.
you know,
Yeah. And even so, there has been some issues. I mean, I've heard from photographers where they have discussed things very clearly about expectations about the shoot.
yeah,
And they get there and the model, well, I don't want to do that. Well, no, I don't want to do that.
yeah,
And so those things will happen as well.
sure,
And the same way where some photographers, if they're not all on the up and up, might try some things during the shoot as well. So yeah, my best advice is like, do your research. If you're working with a new photographer, look at the models that he's worked with, message the models. It's the same with photographers with models. Message the photographers they've worked with.
100%, because
word of mouth.
Yeah, because when everyone's comfortable on set, you just get better work, right? When someone isn't happy on the set, you're not going to get as good as a work because the person's not into it. Like, why am I?
When you're on the same page and you're both
you're just grooving. You're grooving. You're just going. Let's go. Yeah, exactly. We got a couple of questions here. One from Craig. So thanks for jumping on, Craig. What are the model's responsibility when she agrees to do a shoot? Well, I guess that maybe comes from the contract. Like, what is that model's responsibility?
In a lot of cases, when you're doing freelance for a model, hair, makeup, wardrobe is all on you. You are providing that. So I would be expected to show up for the shoot, hair and makeup done, wardrobe provided, depending on the concept that is discussed. The professionalism, again, a clear understanding of what is expected of the model, and the limitations or whatever within that. But
exactly.
And talent, like for me, I really pride myself on my versatility. There is not a genre of that I won't do. So being able to be versatile and being able to show up for the assignment, that as I use it, like you read the assignment, so you show up, hair, makeup, wardrobe, spot on for that.
You're not doing makeup when you show up. It's already done when you show up.
No. Or you're not going in front of the camera with bags under your eyes and no makeup on, and you're expecting to get paid for that shoot, or whatever theme you're trying to deliver. It's like there is
Good question. Thanks, Craig. Another question. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Kay.
No, go ahead.
Question from Boo Boo Remy. Do you know Boo Boo Remy? Okay.
I do.
How do you stay safe?
She's a fashion designer, a very awesome fashion designer. I got to be in one of her fashion shows.
Shout out to Boo Boo Remy then.
Yes, you should have her on too. She.
All right. How do you stay safe and going to all these different shoots now that you're freelance versus the Disney from an agency?
Stay safe in terms of when you're
freelance versus agency, because I guess that's the question.
Well, freelance, again, vetting who you're working with, doing as much of a background check as possible, but also just letting people know where you're going to be and for when and for how long. There have been a couple of shoots, first time working with a photographer, where I pretended to be, maybe I shouldn't say this, I pretended to be on the phone with somebody entering the shoot saying, I will see you at 3:00 when the shoot is done.
Planting the seed. You're planting the seed.
Yeah. I mean, let that person know that somebody is expecting me. if even if you don't intend on bringing a chaperone to the shoot, suggest that to the photographer. A big red flag is if that photographer is not cool with having somebody there.
Red flag.
Big red flag. Big
red
old
flag,
red flag.
Yeah.
They should at least be open to that idea.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
the important thing is,
would you recommend people asking that anyway, just to see what like their response is, even if they aren't even planning to bring a chaperone, just to see what that person will say?
exactly.
Kind of like a test. Kind of like
Put
a test.
It out there, yeah.
Yeah.
Because anybody who is not okay with having a chaperone, it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why? I understand to a certain extent sometimes having a person there can be a distraction for the model or the photographer. I get that. But it's like you can go into the other room or you can be waiting saying
There's
absolutely no to somebody there.
It's a good tip. Yeah, that's a good tip. Yeah, that's a good one.
And just always, like I said, having at least one person know where you're going to be for how long, where, the photographer's Instagram handle, whatever you can.
Location where you're going.
Exactly.
And I guess maybe
especially do that for, say, if I'm shooting out of a hotel. For some reason, I just feel extra vulnerable shooting in a hotel. So I will literally run down the street saying, I am going to be at the Royal. Anybody who will listen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I guess maybe telling someone that I'll text you when I'm done. And if you don't get a text from me, something's up. Yeah.
Most important thing is get in touch with somebody after that shoot and make sure they're on it. Like, it's 6:01. Why didn't you text me?
Yeah. No, it's good. I think it's really important, especially for people that are starting out. They may not know this kind of stuff, right? They just assume that everyone's good and has good intentions, and it just takes the 1%, right? So
also, as well, going to meetups where it's a little bit unknown as to who's going to be there. You're a little less in control as to who the photographers are going to be and all the people involved. So even more so.
No, it's a valuable information. Thanks for the question, Boo Boo. And if you want to come on the show, let us know. Another question from Kate. What would you do if a photographer tries to back out of paying you after agreeing upon your rates? Oh, man.
So if this is, you're at the shoot and they're not going to pay you, because if this is beforehand, then it's the shoot's off.
Yeah.
If there's any sort of back and forth and hemming and hawing beforehand,
this is why you need a contract.
Yes.
Right? This is why you need a contract, because you have something in writing.
But I've also heard of photographers where you have an agreed upon rate, whether it's made verbal or through a contract.
Yeah.
And then push comes to shove at the end of the shoot, I only have this much.
Well, that's not cool.
They shortchange the whole thing. So that's when you put that person on blast. I mean, that sort of thing is the uttermost unprofessional thing, especially if you've agreed upon it beforehand.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
I do find that's one of the more difficult things as a freelance model is negotiating rates and having a lot of people just not want to pay you.
Yeah.
And
I know pricing is always the hard. Doesn't matter if you're doing photo, video, like whatever, like you're doing, like pricing is so hard sometimes because you don't want to lowball, but you don't want to highball, but you know what you're worth, but you don't want to say that, but you still want it. Like it's all this confusion.
That's exactly.
I do it all the time myself.
The big thing is like knowing your worth, knowing the experience you bring to the table, the ability to do different genres of modeling, different types.
Yeah.
You gotta know. You have to have a strong sense of self, like I said, and stand your ground.
Yeah, and know like how much work goes into something, right? Because sometimes people ask me for videos, and and they give me what they want. I said, well, you got to pay me this. They go, what? I go, yeah, this is what I got to do for you. But they don't realize that, right? So it's like kind of like similar to like your industry where you don't realize how much work I'm putting into this thing. I got to do hair, I got to do makeup, I got to do all these things before, right? So
it's the same, and a lot of times models get what's the word? Either not valued for the time and effort they put into shoots and stuff. For me, it's not just the hair and makeup and wardrobe. No. Beforehand, I'm practicing poses in the mirror. I'm doing a lot of pre-prep work so that I'm bringing my best to every shoot.
100%. And there's there's a quote out there. It's, I forget who said it, but you know, you're not paying me for today. You're paying me for the last 10 years because this is how much work I put into this, right? So
exactly, yeah.
So, but pricing's always hard. It's always
it is on both sides. I totally feel
both sides. How much, you know,
and the models as well.
Yeah. Another question from Craig.
Oh.
Do story or mood boards help the model understand the concept?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Good question, Craig.
Yes.
Let's talk about story and mood boards.
Yes. I cannot say yes. I'm a visual person. Not everybody's a visual person. But for me, having a visual reference of what we want to achieve in a shoot is so important. And having photo references, and I wish a lot more photographers would provide mood boards or models as well, because if they have a specific idea of mine, for me, I will often send a photo to a photographer and be like, this, I want to do this. Because again, I think visually a lot. So it's so helps. Especially for a model for pinpointing a look. I remember I did a Viking shoot a little while back, and that was very specific makeup that I wanted to get right. So the photographer and everyone involved was going back and forth with reference photos for the kind of idea, even the aesthetic with lighting. And so, yeah, it so helps. And for me, I love things with a narrative that have a story, have something behind them. It's, again, the theater nerd in me that loves to perform.
Love it.
Loves to tell a story visually.
Yeah.
So having that is so important for me. Creating a backstory, a character backstory. Even if it's just a glamour shoot. I'm like, well, my name is Madam Lippington, and I live on like, you have to create a character, and it sells the image.
I dig that.
So much.
How do you how do you find these images? Like, do you go on Pinterest or do you go on Google? Like, how do you find?
Yeah, quite
images?
often for me, I just Google a thing, an image. Like if I'm looking for Renaissance painting, this, then I will type that in, or woman bathing in a lake, with flowers in her hair. I will Google if I have a specific vision. I will just Google it out. Or again, Instagram. If you see an image, my saved gallery on Instagram is so massive because I'll see something and that can inspire an idea.
Yeah.
So.
And that's how you get more ideas too, right? And then you just and then your mind gets going with all kinds of stuff, which is great.
Yeah, for sure.
Story mood boards, I think that's a great idea. Especially also like the photographer giving it to the model giving it to the photographer, because that way you can work. And that's where you can discuss, right?
For me, and I imagine this might be a pet peeve for photographers, but a model approaching a photographer saying, "Hey, I want to work with you." But they don't have any idea or anything to back that up. That would be annoying to me. Sometimes, photographers will say, "Oh, I want to work with you." And then everything's dependent on me to come up with the idea. And sometimes I'm fine with that. But usually when I approach somebody, it's because their specific work gives me an idea for a concept. I have a specific thing in mind, or vice versa. People see my work and go, I'd like to do this with you. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Love it. Hope that answers your question, Craig. But that's a good one, actually.
Yes. And I would say spread the word. Mood boards for everybody.
Mood boards. Yeah, totally. I think it's an undervalued approach sometimes, eh?
Again, yeah, for me, it's important because I think so visually. And so having something tangible to latch onto is good. A reference point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, some sort of like anchor that kind of anchors you to the idea, and then you can like work from there, right?
Exactly. Some source to thing that you can,
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I kind of wanted to show a couple of photos off your Instagram because it is May the 4th today, and we'd be remiss not to show Star Wars. I mean, it's just perfect timing that today is May 4th. And
I do have a bit of a Star Wars display in my background. I don't know if you can see it.
Well, I think George Lucas is in the comments, so he might pop on for a couple of seconds.
George, I'm available.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Like, I love this. This is so good. Sterling shots. Was this where was this shot?
So I think it's called Shark Studios. If you can see the spelling, it's SHVRK.
Oh, yes, I see now.
So I think they're trying to be clever with that V. I don't know if it's Chevrick Studios. It's in Etobicoke.
In Etobicoke?
Yeah.
Good spot or so-so?
Industrial area, but what I've learned is there's a number of studios in that area, so I suppose it's Etobicoke's studio area in particular. But that was fun. That was a duo shoot that I did with Kate Rocks.
Yep.
And there was a lot of Stormtrooper photos.
It was a lot of fun.
So it was great.
I love it. Who's your favorite Star Wars character?
Currently, it's Babu Frick.
Okay. Any reason?
I have a talking Babu Frick doll. Before that, it was Yoda. I love things that are tiny and cute.
Okay.
So Yoda to the end, but currently Babu Frick.
All right. We'll take it. Here's another Han Solo.
Han, yeah. I can make the Tesla run in less than 12 parsecs.
There you go. Love that. Had to show the Star Wars. Had to show the Star Wars today, just because it's May the 4th. But are there any other photos in your grid that kind of like are favorites of yours, or have like cool stories behind them, or?
Well, actually my profile photo and one of the photos I think we used as a promo.
Yeah, I think
that photo is done by boudoirstudio.ca. He's based in Oshawa. He has one of the most amazing wardrobes I have ever seen. I could have just spent a whole day there just trying everything on. There was way too much to choose from. He has a whole studio wardrobe. So this was something that I just put together. I wanted to do all white. So I want to own that outfit and just wear it every day. Just like do my grocery shopping wearing that. I would.
Yeah.
So and just the vibe. He's a really good photographer with just amazing studio and wardrobe.
I love it. I love the lighting. I love the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's great.
I look way cooler than I am. Yeah.
Excellent. Boudoirstudio.ca. Shout out.
I love the ones, particularly what I was saying before, where there's a story behind it. Whether it's I've turned it into a ongoing series where there's several parts to it. I have one that I did with Tifstein that is my Drive series. There's 2 more parts coming. I think I just did the first part.
Is it on your grid?
It's on the grid. Yep. If you scroll Up. Yeah. Getting closer. Getting closer. Getting closer.
Oh.
There we go. So the ones of me in the black outfit. Oh, scroll back up. You missed. So me in the car. Oh, scroll down.
Oh, this one.
Oops. I just touched something. Oh no, I didn't. So
Yeah.
that is an ongoing series. There's 3 parts to that. I play 3 different characters. And it's tied into the lyrics of the Car song Drive.
Mm-hmm.
So it always struck a chord with me. So I have 3 different girls to drive home. So, and as well, I have an apocalypse series that has 3 parts to it.
Really?
I haven't shot the 3rd part yet.
Okay.
But I think I posted the first one of that as well. There's a 2nd series coming, but I like things with a story behind it.
Yeah.
And an ongoing narrative.
Yeah, it's not just one and done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just one and done. I like that. I like how creating like a 3-part kind of series to it.
Yeah. Where you're telling a story, or there's meat on the bones there. There's something other than, hey, look how pretty I am.
No, I think I think that's what can like separate people too, right? Is just being able to tell a story in more than one photo too, because then it really focuses you on really making that idea come alive, right? So I think it's
for sure.
I think it's great. Also, what's the story in the shower? What's the
I actually, in that shoot, I haven't posted those photos yet. I started off pretty. I started off with the makeup looking nice and everything, but I love the messy. Look, I think I titled this one "Hot Mess." I just, night after a rough night of partying, something like that.
I like it. It's cool.
I'm still pretty, right? Kind of vibe, right?
I dig it though.
I like anything that's unconventional. Like everybody likes to, look pretty in front of the camera. Everybody has those moments where they just, they want to feel beautiful and glamorous.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like if it's something different, something else, something more to that, then I love it.
Well, I just think that's what separates people, just having different ideas and doing things differently.
Yeah.
And not always doing like the typical post for Instagram or, you're on a boat or something. Like just do it differently.
Smiling. I as you might see if you notice in my gallery, although my recent photos I'm smiling. I don't smile a lot in my photos. I decided.
I really like this one too. Eyes Wide Shut. There you go.
Yes.
It's the sequel.
This one, there's going to be a whole Victorian story. There's more to this. I love this photographer.
How'd you do the eyes?
That I think that was a fluke. I tried to follow a tutorial where you have the blacked out eyes and similar to the shower picture with the running mascara. Okay. But in editing, they just whited out the eyes.
Oh, they did that in editing.
Yeah. I was not wearing contacts.
I thought maybe that's what you were doing. Okay.
Oh no.
Interesting.
Yeah, no. But this photographer, we're on the same vibe. She's into a lot of dark horror, a lot of really creative stuff. Some of my favorite things are like Grimm's fairy tales and scary things that are meant for children, taking that childlike element and then infusing stuff that is really, really, really scary. So she's right on that same page. I love you, Lisa. We're going to work more together because, she's another one that likes doing the unconventional, taking an idea and doing something outside of the box.
Love it. Yeah, it's different. I love it.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, this again.
I'm smiling. There's
Yeah,
proof.
you're smiling here, right? So, I mean, do you have like a favorite type of style, or you just kind of like go where you feel like that day?
Uh, Really, I don't like to peg myself down to any specific genre. I really like to try everything. But as mentioned before, I really like the creative shoots
Hmm.
where there's a story behind it, where there's a narrative, a
Yeah,
concept,
yeah,
um, something where, yeah, I'm visually telling a story.
yeah. I think that's what I don't know. For me, it's like always challenging myself to do something different because doing the same thing every time gets kind of boring.
Sure,
So,
I
like,
know there's models out there that like to stick to a genre, like I'm a boudoir model, this is what I
yeah,
do, or I'm a cosplay model, this is
yep,
what I do. But for me, I'm like, don't peg me down. I am
yeah,
any kind of model. You, you want me to be something, I'll be that thing.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, even if you just like shooting like a certain style, you can always challenge yourself to do something different within that style. So if you shoot, beach photography, just do something different with the beach
Yeah.
scene, not, maybe use a different lens or use different lights, or maybe use no light, use natural light. Like you don't need to do the same, as long as it's
No.
agreed upon with the model, like what you're trying to do. But
Yeah.
for me, it's like just challenging, and trying to like challenge your skills to like see how far you can take them, right? Because I don't know. I think that's just half the fun of doing photography is pushing yourself.
The
Because
discovery, right?
yeah,
And the
like no
whole
one's gonna
thing.
do it for you. Like you need to do it like yourself. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's the beauty with working with different people too, right? Because people have different skill sets and ideas, and they can tell you, they can give you ideas. Oh, I never thought about it this way or that way, and vice versa. And that's just really the power of community and having friends in the industry, and just that's where the power is, right?
Yeah,
No,
working
I
with as
said,
many
yeah,
different people as possible,
yeah.
for sure.
Like I said last week, like you know, getting the likes and followers on Instagram is great, but I think the power of Instagram is like the people on the platform, because at least you can actually talk to someone,
Yeah, for
you know?
sure. And the connections that you make. For me, a large part Instagram is, again, an outlet, is displaying um,
Yeah, of
my work for me,
course.
basically, as a way like,
Yeah,
this was fun. I'd like to do this.
yeah.
So, but going back to what you were saying, I could not encourage photographers enough to
Mm,
seek out diversity
yeah,
and work with as
100%.
many different people. Don't underestimate models or overlook models.
Hmm.
Um, that is definitely something that I've encountered a lot too. Is
Yeah,
being overlooked or underestimated. And it's like, stretch your legs. Don't be afraid to dip your toe in
yeah,
uncharted water.
yeah. The
Yeah,
water is warm.
yeah, and welcoming.
Yeah,
But
of
um,
course, of course, of course.
Instagram for sure is a great way to, again, not only display your work but to connect with so many
I
different
think
people.
that's where the power is. I mean, do you show your work like do you have a website that you show your work off on, or is
No,
Instagram your main portfolio?
I'm working on that
Yeah.
too. I am not the most tech savvy person.
Mm-hmm.
I often joke that on the outside I might appear like a 30 something year old, but on the inside I'm an
Yeah.
87-year-old woman named Edith from the Victorian era,
Yeah.
way before so yeah,
Okay.
don't be
All
fooled. So
right.
I'm very slow to get on board with a lot of common tech stuff. I'm surprised I'm doing this. I'm
We
surprised.
try to make it easier for people. We try to make it easier for people.
You did.
Uh,
It could not have been more simple.
Craig got a comment. Constant communication between the photographers is essential for successful shoots, as Kay and I have had. So you
Oh,
have worked with Craig a bunch, I guess.
Craig, yeah. Keeping up a dialogue and having an understanding not only of the shoot and the work that you want to do, but of
Mm-hmm.
that person. If you're asking a model to do something that is not within their personality or not within, getting to know the model, getting to know the photographer, so you feel that much more comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
It makes the shoot go that much better because you have an established comfortability.
Yeah, it's trust. In the end, it's trust. Yeah.
It's not just setting up a shoot and then meeting that person the day of the shoot.
Yeah. It's basically a blind date. Like, what's going on? I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, did you approach Craig or did Craig approach you? Like, how did that come about?
I don't remember. I believe Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, but you approached me. So I'm not too sure, but
Cool.
like I said, I'm not afraid to reach out to photographers. So
Yeah.
sometimes I forget, like, was it me who reached out or that? But yeah,
Excellent.
we've worked together several times. We're planning to work together this month as well.
Exciting.
So,
Exciting. Yeah. Cool.
Sometimes you'll find photographers that you just on the same wavelength with, that you.
Yeah, it's a vibe, right? It's a vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just get each other. You're on the same page.
Yeah.
There's a
And I
few
guess
photographers for sure.
And I guess that's the opposite of like being in an agency where you're kind of tied to what they want. You really have no wiggle room to maneuver. Like it's their way or the highway. Yeah.
You're the product. Yep. And you must fill this role and you must
yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
if you don't get along with
so. But yeah.
Interesting. Cool. Well, we're almost at the hour, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. So do you have any final thoughts for people? Advice, tips, and tricks, things that we didn't cover, maybe that you wanted to mention?
No. Don't be a dum-dum. Have your smarts about you.
That's good in life in general. Yeah.
Know yourself. Yes. Don't be a dum-dum.
Don't be a dum-dum.
Don't let things like flattery and stuff like that sway you. Have a strong sense of center.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to reach out to people, like network, put yourself out there. You're in the business of you. You are selling you. So sell yourself.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned just like a minute ago how like your IG is for you, right? Like you know, it's free. I always tell people like do it for you first. Like you should make it for yourself first, because if you're not doing that and you're giving to like external validation, that's a very difficult position to be in, because usually when you give it to like external validation, it doesn't really work out that well. So I'm glad that you mentioned that that is for you first.
You're gonna be constantly disappointed.
Yeah,
if
that's
seeking validation.
That's just like the social media train, right? Where
But that being said, treat your Instagram like your professional portfolio. Put your best foot forward. Post for you, but realize that people are going to be seeing your work and judging you on your work.
Yeah.
You may not like it.
I mean, that's a good point. So would you like recommend, like, if you only have, say, for example, like, 10 really good photos and 5 okay photos, would you recommend just having the 10 really good on Instagram versus 15? Like less is more kind of thing on Instagram, and showing only your best work?
Don't
and
feel
not having
the
like
need
a
to
B
just
photo.
post for the sake of posting. No, you really want to put your best foot forward. Present your best work that represents you as authentically as possible.
Yeah. Because I think typically people usually tend to look for like the B photo instead of the A photo. So if they see like a B photo there, they'll automatically think that you're, a B person or something. So I don't know. Like I read that somewhere. So like only have your A stuff out always. Meanwhile, people like having everything out because like, oh, look at what I've done and all this good stuff.
Yeah, like overload too much, right?
Too much.
And then people don't tend to pay attention to the important stuff, right? If there's too much of it.
I like less is more, because then it also makes the other person curious. Well, what else did this person do? Like what else does this person do? If you only have like a few photos up, which I think is a good tip. Thanks, Craig. You should come on the show one week, maybe. Maybe you and Kate come on.
Yeah. Well, he's a photographer.
We'll get him on.
You guys.
Craig, if you want to. I don't know what your Instagram is, but anyway.
I can send that to you after
Yeah.
the
Okay.
show.
Well, Craig, I'll be sending you a DM. No, that's great. That's great. Thanks again for doing this. Kate, love to have you on later this year. Maybe you and Kate can come on maybe one week. I think
That'd be
it'd be a
great.
cool conversation.
Yeah.
Because there's so much to know about the whole industry, right? I think we just kind of like scrape the surface. So
I think so. We
yeah,
could go on for another couple of
like
hours, but
stories
alas.
and all that good stuff. But
But
so
no, thank you
do
for
you?
having me on.
Our
So
pleasure. Our pleasure. Do you want people to like anywhere besides your Instagram account that you want people to visit, or just your Instagram account that you want people to visit?
check me
Anywhere
on
else
the
that
streets of Toronto.
daily on the
I'm
streets of
out and
Toronto?
about. Come say hi.
She'll be crushing the streets of Toronto, and the weather is good. The weather's finally warm, right?
Yeah, I'll
So
be bopping about. So yeah,
it's not
chances are
a
you will see me outside.
it's not a huge hindrance to leave the house anymore, which is fantastic. So
Yeah.
that's great. So everyone, visit Kay. Her Instagram is in the description. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next week. I think we're doing the portrait challenge. I think that's what Bryan has set up. We'll figure it out as per usual. And like this video, subscribe if you aren't. This show will be on Spotify, Google Podcast. We're gonna be everywhere. And just hang on for a second when we go offline. And yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. And we'll see you next week, hopefully with the full crew, or maybe just me. Who knows? But we'll see you next week.